Hello and welcome to r/Pettyrevenge for all of your stories of small victories over those who have wronged you. Our first story of revenge comes from user GreenGamer685. This is actually my mum's story, but I thought it belonged here, so here goes. My mum was a pretty good student, mostly B's and C's with the occasional A. She would never use the toilet or medical room just to get out of her lessons. Her French teacher, I'll call her Dick, had favourite students that she was nice to. The rest she acted like they weren't there. My mum was not one of her favourites. The revenge. The last lesson on a Friday was French. My mum was feeling nauseous, but she didn't think it was anything, so she just brushed it off and went to her last lesson. About halfway through the lesson it got worse. She was feeling dizzy and hot. Her friend, who I saw on the desk next to hers, leant over and asked if she was okay because she was going pale. So she raised her hand and asked to go to the medical room. And of course, Dick thought she was trying to get out of lessons and gave her a short lecture on the importance of staying in class. 5 minutes later, my mum put her hand up again and asked to go to the medical room, and again, Dick said no. She put her hand up, and this time, her friend backed her up and she pointed out she was going pale. Dick told my mum to come up to the front of the class to Dick's desk, so Mum did. Dick got right in her face and yelled at her not to make another sound, and if she did, she would get an after-school detention with Dick. Dick pointed to my mum's seat and told her to sit down. About 10 minutes from the end of the lesson, my mum got that feeling you get when you know it's too late. She vomited all over her desk, the floor, and her friend. Dick looked shocked when it happened, and there were still 10 minutes left of the lesson, so she had to clean it up. My mum didn't find it funny at the time, as she had just thrown up and felt very ill, but now she remembers it and says it was worth it to see the look on Dick's face. Amazing. Our next story is from user Fluffy Designer. This happened a while ago, but something just reminded me. Years ago, I was fostering kittens who had coccidia. For scale, I caught coccidia off them and lost 8 kilograms in a week. So for little baby kittens, it can be deadly. There's medications and stuff you can give them. Thankfully, my kittens were on the mend. My housemate at the time was very attached to one of the kittens. After she stole my car and left me stranded in the rain, meaning I had to walk home half an hour in the cold and wet, I lost my crap and told her to leave. This was after many other incidents, such as not paying rent, sleeping through things regularly, breaking my dash cam so I wouldn't know she was driving drunk, and mixing her meds with alcohol before driving my car. She also had guests over to drink regularly and went through my stuff while I was at work. Not a nice person. So she left and took the kitten. Not okay. The kittens are under my rescue and it looks really bad if suddenly they die or she accuses me of giving her a sick kitten. I play nice for a few days, message her boyfriend, and gently tell him that legally I have to microchip the kittens, so I'll do it for her for free, so I don't get a big fine. I'll also give them the medication so she doesn't get sick. He brings the kitten back. I microchip little one into my name and message her to F off. Do not mess with the crazy cat lady. The little one and her brother were adopted by a friend, then abandoned with me, and finally readopted by his ex after they broke up and he ghosted her. I get regular updates and they're living the good life. Very pampered cats. Our next story comes from Solo1961. I was maybe 13. Little sister, a monstrous brat, was a year younger. She was also my mother's little princess who could do no wrong. Sister often used this bias to her advantage. So father was working out of state one summer and agreed to fly us, mother, sister and me, to join him for a weekend. Sister got the larger of the suitcases we had available, and I got the smaller one. No big deal, but then she whined to Mummy Dearest that her suitcase was too heavy. I was told it was my responsibility to carry my sister's luggage throughout the trip. Little sister smirked at me as I hauled her bag to the car. Oh, and then I had to put my own bag in the car. I stood in the driveway waiting for them, because they were always the last ones to get ready. I spotted a stack of bricks off to the side of the house. My father had built a barbecue and had leftover bricks. Cue the petty revenge. I managed to get 6 bricks stuffed inside my suitcase. My sister had to carry it from the parking lot to the airport. When we disembarked, she had to carry it to the rental car, then to the hotel. The process was repeated when we flew back home. She complained each time, but to my mum's credit, she made her carry the damn suitcase because I had my hands full carrying my mum's and sister's suitcase. When we arrived home and parked in the drive, good old mum told me to carry all the suitcases inside. I said, okay, but I have to take care of something first. I then unzipped my suitcase and dumped the bricks before carrying it inside. My sister burst out in tears and demanded my mother punish me. I was threatened with all kinds of things, but I think the only thing that happened was a scolding and a few threats if I ever did anything like that in the future. From ThegamerwhokillsNPC. Well, let's start off. I'm an Indian. This morning I get a message on my Facebook from a guy from the US. No hi, hello. He straight up asked me to send Bob and Vegana. I ignored him. He said this 4 to 5 times. I asked why he was doing this. He repeated Bob and Vegana. When I didn't reply, he said, "Dumb mother effer, can't you read?" I was understandably mad. I thought he wants Bobs and Vagina. He'll get it. I searched the internet for the hottest nude I could find. I then got a photo of his mum from his Facebook photos, and got my friend to Photoshop her head onto the nude. I then sent the photo to him with the caption, "Here's your Bob and Vagana. Enjoy." I also took a screenshot of our conversation prior to the photo and sent it to his mum, friends, etc. I then got a message from him saying how everyone is calling him to reprimand him, and how I'm a butthole. Our next story is from justgottakeepdugging. We have a business and recently have been having problems with attempted break-ins and rubbish dumping and tagging on one of our warehouses. This weekend some buttholes left a huge pile of household rubbish, probably from a Halloween party, next to our big locked industrial bin. This means we have to clear it up, filling our bin and paying for it to be emptied. What the dumpers didn't realise is we now have installed cameras and got their licence plate details and car model, so we dobbed them into the council and they will issue a £400 fine. Then we found a couple of letters in the rubbish, with their address clearly displayed, only about 600 metres away. So we loaded all the rubbish onto our UTE and dumped it outside their place with a big sign taped to it with car and licence number, "You forgot your rubbish, so we brought it back." It's an apartment complex too, so hopefully the neighbours get super peed and the body corporate are on their butts. And maybe the council can fine them again too. Petty, but it felt good, and hopefully the buttholes learn their lesson. From the Spider Lady 88. My mother-in-law and I do not get along. One of my gripes is that she will just drop off things she no longer wants and expect us to graciously accept them. She then makes a point of asking how much we like and or use said items. I should mention that these items are trash or as close to trash as one can get. I should also mention that my mother-in-law is the type to excessively reuse plastic containers, such as Cool Whip or Chinese takeout. Now I am myself super down with the reduce, reuse, recycle, so I cannot fault her for reusing them. Our local recycling centre only takes 1s and 2s, so I've exacted my petty revenge in the form of so graciously giving her all of the plastic containers we cannot recycle, so that she can use them instead. I haven't gone so far as to ask how she likes them, but her gifts to us have certainly slowed down. From Pavsters. I live in a very old building. Each floor has 3 apartments, and the middle one, where I also live, only has windows in the living room and bedroom. Between the kitchen and bathroom there is a ventilator, which is like a vertical tube that runs through all building floors, and the kitchen and bathroom have small windows towards that area. It goes without saying that soundproofing was not the first thing in mind when this was designed. Overall the building is rather quiet, and even though I don't know my neighbours, I think we all have the unspoken understanding that we should try to be quiet when possible. But even when some resident needs to be loud for some reason, it's usually okay because it's not recurring. All residents, but the 2 that live directly below me. These people keep their internal windows open at all times. It's fine to hear the occasional dialogue, I mean they are in their house, but they always chill there and sometimes yell to each other or their kids. Minor and petty stuff, the kids are adults and yell back. Worst of all, they don't keep their bathroom window closed when they're using it, so we are blessed with the whole symphony. It's kind of disgusting, and I always have headphones on when I'm in the kitchen, window closed, but sometimes I just have to open it for some time and they strike again. Recently, an opportunity presented itself. I got sick a few days ago, stomach bug, but you know, with everything going on I should be extra careful at all times, right? I should ventilate all my spaces, and I should have the bathroom always accessible. Then came last Sunday. Sunday is usually a big deal for families here, and they were having their children over. I was feeling a tiny bit better, and timed my attack at the time of their lunch with family. All my agony was worth it when I heard one of the kids go, "Effing seriously?" and some pretend gagging noises. Hope that teaches them to close their windows every once in a while. From user bbarham99. Back in college, one of my roommates was sort of known to borrow things, and they somehow never made it back to the owner. Me and my roommate are, and still are, good friends, but one day he pushed me too far. I would always let him use my cologne before we would go out because, who cares, it's just cologne. But I had one specific cologne that was my favourite, and apparently his and his girlfriend's favourite as well. So one day I come home and realise my favourite cologne is gone, and I knew there was one culprit. I called him to ask if he took it, and he was honest with me and said yes. He brought it with him when he went to visit his girlfriend's parents, about 3 hours away, and promised I would have my cologne back. Well, I experienced this promise enough to know that if I didn't do anything, he would have forgotten the cologne, and I would never see or smell it again. So what did I do to make sure? Before I got off the phone with him, I said, okay, but just make sure I get it back. Okay, but just to make sure I get it back, I'm taking some of your valuables out of your room and holding them hostage. To which he was not happy, but I was shaking with excitement. I then proceeded to take just about everything out of his room. I took his laptop, TV, pillows, hats, shoes, Beats headphones, etc., and took a picture of everything locked in the trunk of my car, so he really got the message that I was serious. Surprisingly, when he got back, he tried to play the "dude, I forgot it, but I promise I'll give it back" routine. Not a chance, buddy. That stuff is staying locked in my car until that cologne is back on my shelf. He claimed he left it at the parents' house 3 hours away, but somehow within 15 minutes, I had my cologne back. I knew that would be his trick, but you can't fool me that easily. And even if it was there, well, I guess he has to hop in the car for 6 hours unless he wants to sleep without pillows, or can't do any homework, since I had his laptop. Not my problem. And just to be even more petty, all I did was unlock my car, and he had to put all his stuff back, just so I knew he got the message, loud and clear. Too long didn't read. College roommate took my cologne, so I took all his valuables out of his room and held them hostage until I got my cologne back. And that was r/Pettyrevenge. Make sure to leave a like on this video as it helps me out a lot. And also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that little notification bell. That way you never miss any of my future uploads.